I was searching for a movie to watch on my ride home, like The Blair Witch Project, Coraline, Cruella, Hamilton, anything. Black Phone 2. I need to watch something. And whenever I refreshed, I saw a file that I did not recognize. And I don't know how it got there, because I did not put it there. It was not in my drive beforehand. So, I don't know. It had a screenshot and a video. And I click on the screenshot first, and it was someone that said disappeared. It says my friend and his brother were playing Minecraft, and they disappeared. And he tried to contact them, and they didn't respond. That was 2 weeks ago, and his DMs are open for anyone that wants to help him or give him advice. Now, I look at the video, and I'm gonna watch it. So, let's see what we're watching here. It's been a while since my brother Wesson disappeared. I don't know what happened to him. He started acting weird, frantic almost. He became secretive and untalkative. After a fight with people, he went to his room to cool down. He never was seen again. He vanished into thin air. Those were the words Tiefen had typed into a book. I'm in his world, about to explore. And he hits done. Now, we're immediately met with a house, a rundown house. But why could this be important? I don't know. And then Tiefen says, why is this door opened? And that's a good question. Why would the door be opened if Wesson had either left it or not? Now, we see this weird moss pattern on the floor, and Tiefen looks to see if Wesson has placed any items anywhere in the house, anything at all. And he realizes he hasn't, but he notices an error in the pattern. One block is misplaced. And he looks around, and then he breaks it, and he sees a trap door, and there's a secret passage. And when he goes down it, he's met with a library almost. Now, I don't know why Wesson would have put this here. I don't know why at all. But in the book, Wesson has, before them, the unsaved, the unrighteous, the great old one, typed over and over again. Some misspelled, some forgotten letters, others too hard to decipher. I don't know why Wesson would have put this in his book, or why he would have misspelled them. Why did he take out words? But Tiefen seems to be in a trance almost, and he doesn't kind of break out of it. He sits there and looks at the pages, and is kind of caught off guard. Now, I'm still trying to figure back, why was Wesson's door open? How did this get into my Google Drive? Tiefen exploring his world? What will he find? Will he find where Wesson went? Or will there be more? And he seems to still be in the trance. And I don't know if I will snap out of it. Is this all the video? Does he do this for 26 more minutes? But then we have looked beneath Tiefen. But what could that mean? What could that mean? When he says look beneath, does he mean look beneath the floor? Look beneath the water? Look beneath the house? What does he mean? Look below. And I agree with Tiefen. He's writing in gibberish. I agree with him because he's leaving all these clues and unanswered questions. But Tiefen notices another pattern, that there's an oak log instead of a spruce. And he writes, that's odd. And he starts to break it. And there's another book. And it's empty. And he frantically puts it back, replaces it, and then he runs upstairs. But it was an empty book. Why was Tiefen running? It wasn't supposed to be scary. And he says, no, 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 no. But why did Tiefen say no, no, no? That's weird. Why would he say that? And he says, weird tree. Now, in normal Minecraft, these trees that Tiefen is seeing should not be able to generate. Because how is that tree that tall, and how is this tree placed like that? That should not be possible in the Minecraft. And then this one, the tree is just floating. It's gone. More than one. And he's certainly right about that. Why is there more trees like this? And he goes over to the tall tree, and I don't know what he thinks that he's going to find, but he quickly just looks at it, looks it up and down, and then he sees another one, and he follows a path almost. The trees are leading him somewhere important, somewhere he has to be. Now, I think Tiefen notices there's a chest, and then there's a weird tree. There's a chest, and then there's a weird tree. And he thinks that it has some kind of connection. Now, let's see if there's anything in this book. And why is the book in the bottom right corner? And that's just a bunch of gibberish and numbers. But what could this possibly mean for Tiefen? He puts the book back where he found it. And then he opens up his book and quill. And he writes a bunch of gibberish and numbers. And he starts heading to the left. But I don't know why he would go left. And he sees a church. He types, a church? But this church shouldn't be able to spawn in Minecraft unless someone built it. But who would just build a church in Minecraft? I mean, it's a good building, but unless they're doing something, a church should not be built. And there seems to be a yellow and green color scheme. It seems to be a nice church. And he enters. And it has this weird writing I've never seen. And Tiefen writes, I'm going to decode this. And he looks at the poem again. And then he hits done, and then he goes back and says, with a pen and paper. Now, this tactic was seen before by Durlord 3, the same man who also used a pen and paper to decipher a weird code. 2 words that we can take out of this are Cthulhu and Raleigh. But what could this possibly mean for Tiefen? Why were these the only 2 words that we could see? We don't know. But they must be important if they're the only 2 words that we can understand. And he sits there for a while. just thinking. Until finally, he gets done. And then he writes in his book and quill, "That took longer than expected." Good poem. And it looks as Tiefen is going to exit the church and see if he can find any more clues. But he suddenly turns around and looks at the altar once more. And he looks for any patterns or any clues to see if there's another hidden. And he thinks back to look beneath. And he starts breaking blocks until he finds another trap door. But why are all these secret entrances? Why is there another church underneath this church? You see, it's darker. It's uneven. It has a moss cross. And it has a lectern. And it has secret meeting number 1. But what does that mean? There's just nothing else. And Tiefen writes, weird. There's nothing. And I agree with him. Like, who puts a lectern here and just puts secret meeting number 1? But why is there a secret meeting underneath this church? Why didn't they just host it up here with the other church? Why did they have to go beneath it? And he heads to the left of the church, and we see this glowing structure until Tiefen looks right and sees another chest with another book and quill. Trust not the compass or the stars, for they belong to the sky. Look instead to the damp earth and the clinging moss. It always grows towards the great dreamer's breath. The moss is our map. If the moss dies, you've strayed too far. Trace the veins of the stone. If the moss glows, then you are close. That is what reads in the book. And Tiefen writes to that, follow glowing moss. And it seems pretty simple enough. I don't know how anyone could mess this up. So he immediately sees one, and it's glowing. And it's in this weird structure that shouldn't generate in Minecraft. Now, I'm still confused by it, because why is it there? Who made it? Was it put there just for Tiefen to discover and get led deeper into this world to find his brother? And then he sees another one. And you think it's a dead end because you don't see any more until he looks down the mountain and sees two more. But this next one is weird. It looks like it's in a cross shape. Why is it in a cross shape? This shouldn't be able to generate in Minecraft. Something's going on here. Something weird. Something fishy. And he tries to jump off a hill and he falls. So obviously, Tiefen's not great at playing Minecraft. And he goes up the hill and he sees two more and he shakes his head at the top one. And he looks in the distance and I think he sees something, but I can't see it now. And he suddenly goes down the hill, but I didn't see anything over there. So what did Tiefen see? And he begins his way to whatever he saw over here, as it might be important. And he sees dead moss. Maybe this is what it means by if you stray too far, then the moss has died. And there's this dead flowers, the dead moss. So obviously he strayed too far and he saw it. And he immediately heads back. And he doesn't want to try to make a jump, so he just starts breaking blocks so he can just make it. But he doesn't go to the next one up the hill. He goes to the right. Does Tiefen know something that we don't? Does he see something? And then I saw it too. A green bed and a crafting table. And there's been a weird thing in this world. There's been a lot of green. And Tiefen writes something in his book. Maybe this was Wesen's campsite. And that could be a high possibility. It could be Wesen's campsite, but we have no proof that it is. But whoever's it was, they strayed too far and they either died or were taken by something. But green seems to be a theme in this world. The green house, green windows, the green carpet, the green beds. Something's going on here. Someone is either obsessed with green or something else. And Tiefen begins to make his way to the last glowing thing. And he sees a weird structure, but instead of going to it, he first mines the moss to see if he can find anything, and then places it back. Now, he sees this weird house or tunnel looking thing, and the moss seems to be leading him into it. And then he starts to write 4, and then he pauses. But what is happening? Is something interfering with Tiefen's game? Is he experiencing difficulties? Is he going into another trance? We don't know. And then it suddenly turns to day. And he writes, "My brother." And he notices that it turned day, and he starts to freak out, and he heads in. And he sees a golden pressure plate, and he steps on it, and he's instantly teleported into another hallway. And it's kind of weird. Which, I don't know why that's here. And then we see a symbol. And he writes, "Where am I?" This symbol is familiar. My brother was obsessed. I think this is the Cthulhu symbol. And he starts to look around to see where he should go next. What now? And he sees a trapdoor that he missed. And he hits it. And he goes into a little pathway. And he's met with a dark room. Now it seems to appear that Tiefen is stuck. And then he writes, "Where am I? Help. 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 Where do I go? Help. Anyone, help me, please. Where do I do now?" I'm free. Western enters. Tiefen enters this weird room, and he looks around to see if there's any clues. And he writes, "Now what? I'm in a green room. I remember something about Wesen saying, 'Look beneath.' So Tiefen immediately starts to refer to the earlier message Wesen gave him, and he starts to break, see if he can find anything else. And he picks a specific spot, and he just starts mining out until he discovers stairs. But these aren't regular stairs, they're tiles. Why wouldn't they use stairs, and why did they make tiles? But it obviously leads to somewhere. So he immediately makes an opening so he can go down. And he walks down. Slowly. until he gets to a dark hallway and sees light. He sees moss, and he immediately sees a city. And he looks at the wall, because how does something spawn like this in Minecraft? This should not be possible. And he writes, "Where am I? A sunken city." If this is what I think it is, then these members / friends are terrible builders. And I couldn't agree more, because I can't even tell what this is. But Tiefen thinks it's a sunken city, and there seems to be a shrine of a monster. Maybe it's a half shrine of Cthulhu, because it's a winged creature. And he sees water and towers. And he sees a bowl-like thing with a center that looks like one of the towers. And oddly placed stairs. And then he sees a simple room with nothing in it. And then he sees another building, but he can't enter for some reason, no matter which way he goes. So he immediately jumps up and goes into a big blue building. And inside is a library almost, with a single lectern with nothing written. It seems to be a common theme here that nothing is written in these lecterns. But what could this possibly mean? What clue is it giving? And he says, "An empty book. What's it supposed to mean?" And I agree with them, because this is the third one we've seen. It's weird. Who doesn't write in the book? Who just has it and doesn't do anything? And we see a black void almost in building. Now, there's been 2 instances. There's a broken house that seems to be consumed by the void. And a recent player, Rust, has also seen the void. And these white glass panel floor looks like what their lord saw when he saw the city. And as Tiefen enters back into the building, he begins to type something. And it reads, "I wonder what happens now." And he's immediately teleported into the ocean. An endless ocean. But where is he? He's in an ocean, but there's no buildings, no islands, no land, no nothing. Just him, his book, in a chest. But he says, "How did I get here? Where are my notes?" Because indeed, all of his notes are now gone. Everything he wrote, everything he saw, disappeared. And he begins to look around to see if he can see anything, but he doesn't. And he goes to the chest, and he sees another book and quill. And in that book and quill, it's blurred out. Whatever he's seen, he does not like. It must be driving him nuts. And as he goes back under, he fights to stay above the water. And then he sinks, and there's blurred, but then there's a huge figure before him. And his screen starts to fade out black, and it begins to go from black, and that's it. And then it suddenly comes back. And we see, as Tiefen looks at Cthulhu. But if you know Cthulhu, something's wrong here. Tiefen just seems to be in another trance, just looking at him, confused. Why is he here? Why is he in this world? Why are people worshipping him? And then the screen starts to glitch out and it cuts to black. And that's all the footage we have.